friends, my name is Buttercup and I am the Earth Fairy, and today I'm going to tell you a very special story. This story is called Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You know, it was a very lovely cottage that anyone had ever seen that the three bears lived in. And these three bears were the tiniest, most well-behaved bears in the forest. For of course, the cottage was in the middle of the forest. And bears love quiet, shady places where there are plenty of trees to climb. The cottage had a stoep where there was honeysuckle and roses that climbed up the windows. Now the three bears were not like each other because there was the great big Papa Bear, and then there was the lovely Mama Bear, and then there was the teeny tiny little baby bear. And they kept the cottage very tidy, and every morning they would make the great big Papa Bear's bed, and then they would make the Mama Bear's bed, and then they would make the teeny tiny little baby bear's bed. And after that they would dust the great big Papa Bear's chair, and then they would dust the Mama Bear's chair, and then of course they would dust the teeny tiny little baby bear's chair before they sat down for breakfast. But that morning, they poured their porridge into the big Papa Bear's bowl and the Mama Bear's bowl, and of course the teeny tiny little baby bear's bowl. It was hot, and the three bears had to go outside for a walk. The big Papa Bear and the Mama Bear, they walked very slowly and strolled along, but the teeny tiny little baby bear, he took his hoop and rolled it along the front. His hula hoop, of course. Now, that morning happened to be the exact same morning that Goldilocks had lost her way in the forest. She was a very pretty girl and had very pretty hair that was golden and shiny, and that's of course where she got her name, Goldilocks. She did whatever she wanted to do, and she thought that she knew much better than her own mother. And that's how she became lost in the forest, because her mother had told her, if you wandered away from the path, you would get lost and would not be able to find your way back home. But Goldilocks tossed her head and paid no attention. She didn't listen at all. And so it happened that she had wandered so far that she couldn't come back again, and had arrived at the bear's cottage that sunny morning, just after they had left. It was a fresh, cool morning, just the sort of morning that would make Goldilocks want her breakfast more than usual. For that morning, she had run out before it was ready, and when she came to the pretty little cottage, she skipped and jumped for joy. Oh, I'm sure that some kind person lives here and will give me some bread and milk, she said to herself. And then she peeped through the open door. Oh, there doesn't seem to be anyone home, she said anxiously. But oh, what delicious smell of porridge! She could not wait another moment, but walked in and sat down at the great big chair and took a spoonful of porridge out of the great big bowl. Oh, she cried, making a face. This is too salty, and the chair is much too hard. So So she changed her seat and tried the mama bear's bowl. Oh, dear me, now this has no salt at all, she said. And this chair is way too soft. And then she laid down the spoon and jumped up in a hurry. Then she tried the teeny tiny baby bear's chair and took a spoonful of porridge out of the baby's bowl. This is simply delicious, she cried. And the little chair is just right for me too. And she ate and finished all the porridge out of the tiny, teeny baby bear's bowl. And the tiny, teeny little chair was so comfortable that she curled herself up in it until suddenly the seat cracked and broke and she fell right through to the floor. Goldilocks picked herself up and looked around to see if she could find a sofa to rest on, for now she was very sleepy. And she couldn't even open her eyes. Then she saw a staircase and she climbed it at once to see if there was a bed or a room or something above. And sure enough, in the room upstairs, she found 3 beds standing side by side under the window where the roses peeped in. She threw herself at once onto the great big Papa Bear's bed, but it was too hard. She just rolled off immediately. Then she tried the Mama Bear's bed, but it was way too soft and she felt like she was being smothered. And then she tried the teeny tiny little baby bear's bed, and it was so deliciously soft. She curled up and fell asleep with a twinkle in her eye. Just at that moment, the 3 bears came back home and went straight to the table to begin their breakfast. Who has been sitting in my chair? Growled the big Papa Bear in his great big voice. Who has been sitting in my chair? Said the Mama Bear in her middle-sized voice, for there was a large dent in the cushion where Goldilocks had sat. And then said the baby, teeny tiny bear, who has been sitting in my chair and has broken it right through? Said the teeny tiny little baby bear in his teeny tiny voice. Meanwhile, the great big Papa Bear had been staring at his great big bowl of porridge which had a spoon sticking out of it. Who has been eating my porridge? He growled in his great big voice. Who has been eating my porridge? Said the Mama Bear in her middle-sized voice. Who has been eating my porridge and eaten it all up? Cried the teeny tiny little baby bear in his teeny tiny voice. Then the 3 bears began to search all around the room to see who had been there. Next, they climbed up the stairs to look in the bedroom. But the moment the great big Papa Bear saw that his bed was all messed up and tossed around, he growled in his big, great big voice. Who has been lying in my bed? Who has been lying in my bed? Said the Mama Bear in her middle-sized voice. Who has been lying in my little bed and still lies there? Cried the teeny tiny little baby bear in his teeny tiny little voice. Now, when the great big Papa Bear spoke, Goldilocks dreamed of a thunderstorm. And when the Mama Bear spoke, she dreamed that the wind was making the roses nod. But when the teeny tiny little baby bear cried out, she opened her eyes immediately and was awake. She jumped up and ran towards the window, and before the three bears could catch her, she jumped into the garden below. And then she began to run and run, and she ran through the woods and the forest and did not stop until she arrived home. And you can be sure that she never went wandering again, especially not in the woods. So the great big Papa Bear and the Mama Bear, and of course the teeny tiny little baby bear, ate their porridge in peace for the rest of their days. The end. What a wonderful story, friends. Thank you so much for listening to me read this beautiful story. I'll see you next time for another story. Goodbye, friends.